It took me straight back to my childhood. My dad used to play this on 7-inch, man. Real. The whole world, you know. I learned from it. There's a million boys and girls. Now I want everybody else to learn from it. Come on, let's flip it on them. Let's flip it. Yes, young, black and gifted, young, brown and talented, young, white and famous. Don't watch what the balance is. Look how we made it.
Colin Mitchell. For over 50 years, this man has been a bridge between cultures, bringing Caribbean flavours to a growing migrant community. Colin became a cornerstone for those searching for familiarity, comfort, and the taste of home. Through his shop, he has ensured that people can enjoy authentic ingredients and cherished taste from the islands, making home feel a little closer, no matter where they come from. Over the decades, he has witnessed waves of migration and economic changes alongside cultural shifts. But his shop became more than just a business. It evolved into a gathering place where people shared stories, built friendships, and supported each other. Whether facing recessions, rising rents, or even shifts in public taste, Mitchell's had to adapt to changing times. But his unwavering dedication has ensured his doors stayed open, offering not just food, but a sense of belonging to all. From street festivals to local recognition, his role in the community has been celebrated in ways that remind him that his work goes beyond commerce. It's about preserving culture and history. And as new generations arrive and traditions evolve, Colin Mitchell's presence remains a constant preserving heritage while embracing change. As well as running his business, Colin Mitchell for over 25 years has run a barrel shipping business in which people of Jamaican heritage can send products to their family members who are based in Jamaica. So now let's sit back and enjoy the words of the man himself.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, when you're ready. Colin Mitchell, the proprietor of Mitchell Soul Food Store. This company has been established from 1959. You might think you're probably thinking, what's a young man like you doing? Running a business from 1959, but no, I started in 1975. My mother actually started the business way back then on Willoughby Street in Nottingham, while my father was in the mines, mining coal. When the shop was established, a couple of years, my father joined the business and started this dynasty. The business took off back in those days because there was very little for the black community in Nottingham. The main thing that you could get was either short grain rice, potato, and very little else. My father started importing yam, sweet potato, which used to arrive at Liverpool docks and distribute it to other stores, and actually had his own retail store in Nottingham on Union Road. But the business actually started off in Willoughby Street in Lenton, then that building, the council knocked down all those buildings and built the flats that was there, and he was relocated at Union Road in St. Anne's. That was there till in the 1970s, and from then, of course, we all got older then, and we started to take part in the business, and we opened another store on Elkiston Road. That's flourished thanks to the help of Raleigh and Pliers, because a lot of the black community was working in those establishments. Then we opened a third store on Carlton Road. That was my brother. And by this time Union Road had closed, and we had using Elkiston Road store. Then we actually opened Carlton Road, which my brother took over. And then from there, where I came into this, that was in 1975, straight out of school, straight into the business. I'm working with my father on Elkiston Road, 1975 to 78. 78, I opened my own store with the help of my father on Alfreton Road. Stayed there until 1990. Outgrown that building, so I was just, that building wasn't big enough because we're taking off that much. Furthermore, a store just a few yards down the road, much larger store, was on the market. So I decided to acquire that store and actually moved into this one that I am today. From 1990 till the present moment, I've outgrown this store now. Probably about 15, 20 years ago. Sorry.
Can I ask you a question? Like, what challenges did you face in the early years, and how did you overcome them to establish such a long-lasting presence within this community?
Okay, the banks was not as forthcoming as today. The banks didn't see much potential in black people back in those days. When I started out, I applied to the bank that I was using for 5 years, applied there for a loan. They point blank said no. Even though my account was never in the red, all my payments was up to date, they decided no. So my father was in another bank. Yeah. Hi, sir. You all right? Yeah, my father was in another bank called the Midland Bank, which is now HSBC. He says, "Come on, son, come to my bank." So he went down there, spoke to the bank manager, told him my position, what had happened, because I'd gone for a loan previously to another bank. He looked at me, looked at my father, and he says, "Just sign this piece of paper." I didn't even read it. I just wanted the money. I didn't even read it. I signed it, and he left the office, left me and my father in the office, and he came back about 10-15 minutes later. He came back and he says, "Okay, now then, Mr. Mitchell, this is a new account you've got. Your money will be in the bank tomorrow, and you're now with Midland Bank. You're no longer with the other bank," which I don't want to. Well, TSB. I'm not going to beat around it. It is what it is. They call themselves the bank that like to say yes back in the days, but they point blank told me no. So anyway, we moved to the Midland Bank and gave me my own personal bank manager. Come and check with me every 6 months, every year. Come and check and see how the business is going on. And they helped me tremendously. If I wanted a motor vehicle, never hesitated. He just says, "Whatever you want, just let me know." So me and the bank manager, we just became. He was my personal banker, but he kept an eye on me and the business and saw how I was progressing. So he had all the confidence in me, which other banks didn't have, none whatsoever. So that's how that was the main challenge. After that, the challenge was actually making sure we can actually acquire all the stock that we actually need. Sometimes we have to travel for hundreds of miles just to make sure that we have what the customer want. Yeah. So we established links across the country where we could get our products at a reasonable price and also get quality products, which was vital. Because it's no use buying something that the customer going to take home, and after 2 days they have to throw it away. That's not the way forward. Customer want quality. Okay, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for it, but that's life. If you want something that's going to last you a week or something that's going to last you 2 days, you have to pay the price. So we was no interest in buying cheap goods. We wanted quality for our customers. So whenever we go to the wholesalers or the market, we want the best of the best.
Well, with you saying that, like when I was younger and I had the flat behind, and when I had no money, I'd still come in here and be able to scrape up some hard food and buy a few little tins and some tomatoes and whatever, and take back my little produce, cook myself some food to last me 2-3 days. So when you're sitting there saying that, although you had to buy expensive stuff, I don't feel as though you pushed off that expense on the customers.
No. If we were to charge the customers for labor charge and stuff that we have to pay, the time that we have to spend doing that, it wasn't about that. It was about quality. $14.50 a kilo. It wasn't about it wasn't about the money or such. We wanted quality produce on our shelves because we want a customer to come back and be happy. That was the most important thing. Once you've got your customer happy, they'll come and they know they're getting quality. They're going to come back. They're going to moan, oh, this is costing me more, this is costing me, this is expensive. But you can guarantee they're coming back next week, because when they go home and they taste the food and they realize the quality of it, they just put their hand up and says, the food was great last week or whatever and I need some more.
Like I say, like when I had no money and I scraped a few change together, like I could scrape like 5-6 grand, and like I'm saying, I'd come in here and I'd buy enough of it to cook for myself. So like
a lot of the cost was not put onto the customer. I mean, if I was to do that, I think I'd probably be a millionaire by now. But it wasn't about that. It was about, the store is like a community. It's like a community center. That's the main kind of rapport that we like to have with our customer. We appreciate them and they appreciate us, and we treat them right and they treat us right back in return. It wasn't about, money is important, don't get me wrong. It's important because you've got to have a turnover, you've got to have a profit to actually survive. It's important, yes, but we didn't make it become the forefront.
So, on that note, you've been here for
in this year, the business has been established for 66 years. I've done 51 years.
51 years. So okay, within them 51 years, again, like I said earlier, about your shop being a pivotal part of the community.
1175. Yeah.
With the shop being a pivotal part of the community. How have you seen the neighborhood change, and how has your business contributed to that growth?
I think the business is primarily Caribbean. The trends are beginning to change now. It's getting more the African side. That's what's happening now. The African influence is actually kicking in strong. So the business now has got to adapt. There's more African stores now than there is Caribbean stores here in Nottingham, which is kind of strange because we've been here a long time. So it's the problem I think we have is the Africans are more united. They are more united. We might not like it, but it's the truth. They are more united, and that's where the difference is. Right about now in Nottingham, we have an African warehouse. that's opened recently. Somewhere, Baseford, I think, somewhere around there. The African, yeah, that's opened. That has never happened in the Caribbean community. You know, there's always been probably 4 or 5 Caribbean stores, and that cannot sustain a cash and carry. So we've become almost the forgotten ones.
So
basically,
why can as an elder, yeah, how can I put it? With what you just said, how can I hate speaking like, how can Caribbeans and Africans as black people come together and unite and do what they're supposed to do?
I don't know. I don't like to say it myself either, but I don't know if it's the slavery mentality or what. I do not know. I do not know why we are forced or made to feel as if we don't like one another, and that is so wrong. Because I look up as one, because that's where we originate from. Yeah. Sorry, huh? The big one. What's that? I've got it, but in a different brand.
Another question. Do you have any memorable stories or moments where your shop brought the community together?
Oh gosh. Especially in the early days when the riots was going on. That's when we knew along. The community was strong. The vibe in the community and the unity was great. Before the riots began, my shop was the only shop that was boarded up on this road. We said to it, they came and they warned us. They says, "Colin, board up your shop. There's going to be trouble tonight." So we started boarding up the shop, and all the shops around us look at us and say, "Nothing don't happen in Nottingham. This is not going to happen." And they started laughing at us. I can remember the night. It must have been about 8 o'clock in the night. I thought, I'm going to be nosy. I'm going to come out and have a look and see what's happening in the community. So I came out and I was around the back of the store, and I heard the most sirens and police and people running, and windows being smashed and things being looted. And there was a gun shop further up. They tried to break into the gun shop. Petrol bombed it, all sorts, but they couldn't get in there, and the police was on their tail. For the barrel?
Yes.
Which one?
This lady, which one? The tin one.
Tin one, yeah. 25, yeah. So the riots came, and they started nice and green, and it came up Pebble Street and up Alfreton Road and up to the police station at the Canning Circus, and they looted so many buildings. So anyway, when everything had passed and the dust had settled, we came back in the morning, and all the shops were looted. All the shops except, obviously, my shop was the only one. I could take the board off, and we still had our windows. So we were open for business. But the looks on the other shops, you know, they said, "We told you, it's going to happen." But they just, so it just gave us a sense that the community is with us, you know, and that was a nice feeling to know that the community has actually got our backs as well as we've got theirs. So, you know, young, old, all generations, you know, everybody respected the store and respected us because we respected them.
There you go. I've heard stories of the riots, and I haven't exactly heard nobody give me a perspective like you've just given. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, even with the riots, because of the riots in Nottingham, that's what caused the riots in London to happen after. The ones in the Teddy Boys.
The Teddy Boys, yeah.
Teddy Boys in London, we're like, hold on 1 second. If the Teddy Boys in Nottingham are going to stand up easily, because there's only a little group of them in Nottingham, why are we sitting down? Why are we sitting down doing what we're doing? And that's why the riots happened in London straight after.
That's right.
So like, but yeah, like I said, the community loves this venue.
Yeah, the community in Nottingham was vibrant. a lot more vibrant way back when factories was around, like Raleigh and Horizon, were a lot more tight knitted. But since those buildings closed, the companies closed down, and black people being pushed on the outskirts and further afield, the unity that we had just went with that. It's like having having butter and spread it over 2 loaves more than one. So it's like you're spread out thin. It's the same people, but you're spread out thin over a wider area. So we haven't got that link like we had before. And the community centres wasn't really offering much, for the whole community. Maybe some places would have something for the younger ones, another one have something for the older ones. There was never that bond. So that helps. That's contributed to the downfall. And then the younger community felt they didn't have no one to look up to. There was no role model, so they decided to make their own way, So that's my perspective of it.
Speaking of role models, like, I look on you as a role model.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
No, don't be grateful, because again, like when I talk to my friends or family or whatever, I'm like, you've been here for years. Yeah, and all of the years I've came here, even when I used to come here with my mum back in the day as a kid, I know what on Culture Road thinking about, because it was a small one, innit?
That's right, it was a small one.
Yeah, I can remember that one. So it's like, it's been nothing but love. It's like you stood there with your arms open to everyone and said, come into my store.
You're welcome. Everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome.
With that, what values and principles guide your interactions with the customers and your neighbours?
I think first of all it's courtesy and good manners. You're going to have neighbours that you're not going to get on with, no matter how you try. It's not everybody you can cross, but I think manners goes a long way. It goes a long way. You can achieve so much if you've got manners and respect, and that's what's guided us, basically. That's what's guided us.
Something that's so simple as well. So simple.
So simple.
So, and as a black and gifted entrepreneur, what advice would you give to the next generation of business owners from underrepresented backgrounds?
Look at your history. Look where you're coming from. Look where you are now. And I think then you'll realize how much work that needs to be done. There's a lot of opportunities out there that wasn't there before. There's opportunities now that you can grasp just like that, or you can get into, but we don't seem to tap into that. Not as much as we need to, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that's doing very well as black people, but they never get recognition for what they're doing. It's because I'm in the public eye, people see what I'm doing, but there's a lot of folks out there in the background that does not get the recognition, because it's like they say, good news doesn't sell paper. You glorify the bad news and you bring it to the front, and that's what we are actually grasping and not realizing that there's another story towards that. It's like if you listen to the news, you would never go to Jamaica. You can think, I'll never go there because there's so much violence.
It's that white gaze narrative that's being distributed. And it's always, the connotations or the signifiers about it are always negative.
It's always negative, yeah. And they push that. And that's a way of keeping us down.
Yeah.
And we need to realize that, It's like in this trade here, the Asians or whatever will tell you that this is a dying trade. Yet they're opening up Caribbean stores all over the place. So it makes you, but they're drilling into our younger generation that this is a dying trade, don't go into it, it's a dying trade. But yet, they are growing at our expense. Our kids don't have, you know, you go to an Asian store, they're not going to employ a black person more than so. Bye, darling. But because we don't support our own enough, we see today, we save a penny today, but we're losing a pound tomorrow. And that's the problem, because we haven't invested in our younger generation, or we haven't invested in our businesses so that they can employ our own. So we have a problem.
How do you think we can solve that problem?
We'll have to go back to basics. It's all about unity and love for one another. That's where we have to go back to. And how we're going to achieve that, I do not know. I could not understand that, but we need to go back to grassroots. I don't know if it's parenting, which I don't think it's parenting, but I think it's the negative news that's been spread. It's going into our heads too much. You know, we've been made to feel like second-class citizens, which we're not.
Yeah. And they've always tried to do that.
Yeah.
My research and everything that I've been learning by my university journey, it's like, wow. Like, even back to what you're saying about the Asian man opening the stores. Yeah. There's a saying that everything we do is always a problem until they do it, then it becomes a trend.
Become the trend, yeah.
And like when I first heard that, I was like, I didn't really understand it until I started to sit down and look at certain things and look how certain things are moving, and I was like, oh, okay. And even like with your statement as well, backs up that whole phrase that you got a problem with it, now you're doing it, and you're making money off it.
Be making off at our expense, and we can't move forward because they're employing their own.
Yeah. It's a sad world. It's a sad world. Okay.